Battlefield 1942, 2002. Battlefield 1942 was one of its kind, which featured not just some of the best first-person shooter combat, but it also featured vehicles that could drive. In fact, there are as many as 35 different vehicles available in Battlefield 1942, which means that there's a huge variety of vehicles that you can both drive and do vehicular combat through. Battlefield Vietnam, 2004. Battlefield became a much bigger franchise after the first game released, so the developers put their foot on the pedal and started to produce more games. Battlefield 2 was already in development, but the developers needed something else in the meantime to get fans excited. So, Battlefield Vietnam was developed by a tiny crew of 35 people in 11 months. Battlefield 2, 2005. By the time that Battlefield 2 came out, the franchise was one of the most popular multiplayer games in the world. Battlefield was butting heads with Call of Duty. Then the franchise war had never been more fun. However, now that Call of Duty was out and the developers of that game were focusing on the World War era as well, Battlefield decided to come out of nowhere at Battlefield 2, the first game in the series that is set in modern times. Battlefield 2142, 2006. The franchise was going in a bit of a different direction at this point, and fans weren't too happy. However, the company was finding new ways to make money off of their latest project, Battlefield 2142. Advertisements for numerous products, including Intel and Pepsi, can be found in Battlefield 2142. Additionally, the adverts differ between nations thanks to IP tracking, which puts off a lot of players. Battlefield Bad Company, 2008. Battlefield Bad Company was truly when the games began to hit that peak point when it came to single-player storytelling in this franchise. The games before Bad Company also had stories, just not decent ones. However, this one was a bit more exciting than that, as the plot of Bad Company is based on the satirical war comedy Three Kings, released in 1999 starring George Clooney, Mark Wahlberg, and Ice Cube, directed by David O. Russell. Battlefield 1943, 2009. After taking a lot of detours, in Battlefield 1943, the franchise was headed back to its roots. This was a game that featured a ton of investment from the developers DICE. Their passion for this project is visible in this game's maps as well. A sandcastle with a Swedish flag on top may be found on every map, apart from Coral Sea. This alludes to the game's creator, DICE, whose corporate office is located in Stockholm, Sweden. Battlefield Bad Company 2, 2010. While the original Battlefield Bad Company had the genuinely satirical tone and filled with a ton of comedy and humor that kept the tone of the game much more lighthearted than before, Bad Company 2 is a game that takes itself a bit more seriously. It shifted the focus from the protagonist's individual ambition and greed to saving an entire nation from weapons of mass destruction, which brought with it a much more focused narrative. Battlefield 3, 2011. Battlefield 3 represented a significant advancement in technology. This is the first game outside of the EA Sports franchise to make use of Ant, an animation tool used by EA to power titles like FIFA and produce realistic third-person animations, but also more fluid transitions for AI and multiplayer characters. Distinct surroundings, angles, and distances produce different sounds while firing guns as well. It was a visual upgrade of immeasurable levels. Battlefield 4, 2013. The bold step into the next generation of consoles for Battlefield was not met with a lot of love in China after the DLC hit. The Chinese government banned the game's sale in late December 2013, shortly after the release of the China Rising DLC pack. According to the Chinese ministry, the game poses a national security risk by smearing China's image and army in the form of a cultural invasion, as the DLC includes 4 maps on the Chinese mainland with new vehicles, high-tech equipment, and 10 new assignments that the Chinese government saw as undermining the Chinese national image. Battlefield Hardline, 2015. Battlefield Hardline brought a brand new take on the Battlefield games, with a game that was focused on police officers instead of the army. However, it also brought an end of an era to an incredibly powerful development studio known as Visceral Games. Battlefield Hardline was in fact the final game that Visceral Games would create. The studio would eventually shut down in 2017 after EA stopped their funding. Battlefield 1, 2016. Battlefield 1 went above and beyond when it came to the immersive aspects of game design. Not only were the gun sounds different in different angles, the ejected shells falling on different surfaces having different sounds, voice actors recording their lines while wearing weights and playing catch were unique and immersive additions. The spelling alphabet used for control points and squad names is the spelling alphabet used by the Royal Navy during World War I. Battlefield 5, 2018. Battlefield 1 took players through significant moments in history. However, Battlefield 5 focused on the Second World War in particular. The official Battlefield Twitter stated that the V in Battlefield 5 stands for V for victory. During World War II, Winston Churchill made use of this saying as a rallying cry. Battlefield 2042, 2021. After having a great run for the past 2 decades, the franchise has seemingly lost its identity quite a lot, and Battlefield 2042 is a prime example of that. Battlefield 2042 released without any single-player campaigns and was a fully fledged multiplayer game. However, it turned out to have one of the worst receptions in the history of this franchise, with people boycotting the game, and simply not having fun due to the plethora of bugs and lack of content.